Hello everyone, it's 𝐒𝐻𝐽𝐻𝐽, and today I'll be listening to the very first EP by Joy Division. It's their very first release they ever put out. It's called An Ideal for Living. And while I do like quite a bit of post-punk music, for some reason I've never really got completely into Joy Division. One of my most favourite bands of all time is Talking Heads, and they're very often said to be a post-punk band. But I suppose they were making a very different type of post-punk that preempted the more dancey, more poppy new wave that would follow in the 80s. Besides that, I've enjoyed plenty of modern-day post-punk that is no doubt heavily influenced by Joy Division. Most obviously, for example, Interpol. But for whatever reason, although I do get something out of both Joy Division's full-length albums, more so Closer, which has a pretty intense atmosphere that I can really get into, I never really completely fall in love and always feel I'm kind of missing something. Sometimes I touch on that something though. For example, this video of them performing She's Lost Control, it has this kind of claustrophobic intensity, alongside a seemingly krautrock inspired forward momentum that always has me really fascinated with this band. But the production of Unknown Pleasures in particular tends to strike me as cold in a way that doesn't totally work for me. And the songs just don't seem to always stick with me for the most part. That being said, I haven't heard the album for quite a few years now, so I do want to revisit it at some point. But today I've decided, why not try out their very first release, this humble EP, An Ideal for Living. It appears in full as a part of the Substance compilation, which I did hear at some point, but I don't remember these songs at all, I don't think. But that's where I'm getting these tracks from, to listen to just this EP as a standalone release. Hopefully it will give us an idea of where the band started, where they're coming from. Interestingly, it's listed on Rate Your Music as simply a punk rock release rather than a post-punk release. I'm kinda hoping that means it will be stripped of the unorthodox production that you find on Unknown Pleasures, and will perhaps give us a more direct route to the soul of the band. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button for me, and let's get into this EP. The first track is called Warsaw.
3, 5, 0, 1, 2, 5, go! 3, 1, 2.
Okay, so obviously this is pretty rough sounding, especially compared to what would happen next. You can kind of tell that they're already going for something kind of cold and strange though, even at this point, but they're just obviously not quite there yet. But I will say that Peter Hook already has that pretty distinctive mechanical sound to his bass guitar, which is quite cool. I always like that sound. But Ian Curtis, his vocals sound really different to what he would do on their albums. You know, there's none of that melancholy, that kind of warbly sound that he would have later. It's just kind of a punk delivery with a kind of directness about it. You know, on the whole, I don't love the song, unfortunately. I thought it was okay, kind of interesting. But you know, I can't really say it moved me or anything. So let's move on to track 2. It's called No Love Lost.
So long, sitting here, been hella wanted.
Alright, so in the first part of that song, with the loud delay effects on the drums and everything next to that bass sound, this is even closer, no pun intended, to the sound on Unknown Pleasures, I think. But then once it kicked in with the big chords and the vocals, we were back to a more rough, early punk kind of sound. And you know, I did enjoy the contrast, especially. I liked the change up halfway through. And the spoken word part in the second half was definitely interesting. That really got my attention. I suppose I have a similar feeling about the first song with this one though, in terms of the guitar, just playing these kind of generic riffs that I'm probably not going to remember, I have to say. But I was somewhat into the sound play of it more than anything, I guess. So let's move on to track 3. It's called Leaders of Men. Alright, so I actually found quite a bit to enjoy in that one. We had more of that delay sound on the drums, calling forward to what they would do next, and again with a very cool bass line, especially at the start. But once it got going with the vocals and everything, I actually really liked the guitar chords as well. There were several points in the song where it felt to me like all the parts the guitar, the vocals, the bass, didn't really entirely go together, but it's like they forced them to go together anyway. And that kind of worked for me. I quite liked the effect of that. And that just leaves us with the final track, track 4, and it's called Failures. Okay, so that last song was quite different to the other 3 songs, I think. It was obviously a lot more rock and roll sounding, quite bluesy and even kind of messy. But I think that it worked on the whole because of the fact that they turned the guitars up enough to kind of give enough energy needed. I think that's sometimes a problem I've had with Joy Division, that because the guitar is so not always quiet, but not always doing a lot or not filling the mix up, that when they're trying to do something that's kind of got some kind of rock intensity to it, it tends not to have it because they're going for this more mechanical, cold sound. But on this one, it seems that they just let loose and let the guitars do their thing, which I did actually like. It had really good energy, this song. I wasn't always super happy with the blues lead guitar stuff going on, but on the whole, the performances of the whole band were full of energy and intensity, and I did enjoy it for that. So yeah, it's been pretty interesting to hear this EP, hear these songs in this context, thinking of it as this is the first statement that we got from Joy Division. And it was pretty cool to be able to disconnect it from my experience with their later stuff, just to hear this and take it on its own for what it is. And yeah, I did enjoy hearing them have more of that punk rock intensity, while also kind of exploring. You can hear them looking for more interesting sounds in what they're doing and finding some things. I guess for me, I just wish there was something a bit more interesting going on in terms of the melodies and the rhythms. But in terms of the sound and the feeling in the performance, there's a lot to enjoy here. And I'll listen to it a few more times to see if anything grows on me. And hopefully it gives me a good basis to go and re-listen to Unknown Pleasures. So if you've enjoyed this video, please click the like button for me. If you're a fan of Joy Division, leave a comment down below to let me know what you think of this EP. And tell me what you love about Joy Division. You know, give me a hand in getting into this classic band. If you want to support me, you can use the link in the description to buy me a coffee. It really helps me to keep this channel going, keep making these videos. And thank you very much for watching. Until next time, take it easy.